We're going to be talking about the type of programs that we have, academic year and summer programs, the application process, also the expectations of participants who have received the fellowship, and then there'll be Q&A. Okay, so but the FLAS fellowships are funded by the United States government. They are through the Department of Education, through their Title VI programs, and they support students pursuing studies of less commonly taught languages and area studies coursework. We have both academic year and summer fellowship opportunities available to undergrad and grad students. So we, the African language program and FLAS fellowships, we have these different languages that are taught. Actually, Mandinka, I apologize, that is leftover. That is old. But Akantwi, Amharic, Igbo, Swahili, Wolof, isiXhosa, and isiZulu are taught in our African Studies Center. And then, of course, we also have Arabic that is taught not in the ASC, but is indeed a language that is taught at BU, and therefore is and it's an African language. And so it is one that is qualified for the for the FLAS fellowship. It's important to note, though, as well, that one can do the fellowship, especially over the summer, for a different language. So this past summer, but we do have to apply. You have to go through an additional process of applying to the Department of Education for permission to use that language. So over the summer, last summer, somebody studied Ewe. And then we've had people, I believe, study Lingala in the past through the FLAS. So it's not limited just to these. And in fact, we are also going to be piloting in the spring Yoruba. So if people are interested, we have spaces available online if people would like to apply for, this is my pitch, to sign up for Yoruba class as well in the spring. So eligibility, only U.S. citizens or permanent residents who are enrolled students or who will be enrolled are eligible to participate in the FLAS fellowship. And so that means when it says who will be enrolled, means if you've applied, like there are people who have applied for the FLAS and are also applying to be a student at the program. So, but you do need to be enrolled when you would be a FLAS fellow. You have to be at the intermediate or higher level of study in the language during the proposed award period. With the exception that graduate students can take beginner level courses if they have advanced skills in another language in that region. And actually, can I ask you a quick question on that, Professor Molly? Because we had I had someone reach out who was interested in applying to, I believe, the School of Public Health, and she's currently a student, or she was currently studying another language elsewhere. And so the question was, how would she know if she had how would you prove that you've hit advanced skills such that you could qualify to study at the beginner level?
Do you know what language she took?
It was she was Peace Corps, so it was within, I can't remember the exact language.
What we would normally do is to get a placement test for that person, or I would rather say OPI, oral proficiency interview. If we don't teach that language, we seek somebody who does.
Got it.
Anyway, because we too test for other people who don't teach our languages. So if that person has that proficiency, they fit.
Perfect. So that's and that would qualify for any of those questions.
Yes.
Perfect. If someone is applying for an academic year, you need to, financial need as reflected in the FAFSA is considered, and you have to submit a FAFSA if you're applying for the academic year. Academic year FLAS. So the undergraduate fellowship award is $10,000 towards tuition and a $5,000 stipend. And the graduate fellowship awards is an $18,000 tuition and a $20,000 stipend. And the requirement is that you need to enroll in one African language course and one African area studies course each semester of the award. And courses with 25% plus content focused on Africa meet the area studies requirement. So for those individuals in the room who are current FLAS fellows, you know, I've been reaching out to check and confirm that we're meeting the requirements as we go along. And it's important because that allows you to remain eligible. And if you're not meeting the eligibility, then you're not sort of allowed to receive the funding, and can put future funding at risk as well for other students if people are not compliant.
Hey, can I chip in there just to emphasize that if you started the correct way and midway you decide to drop off of that thing, you will be charged. You will have to repay what you are saying. I'm still in here, but we are not taking the course now. That will be a problem. Just so people
know. Students must reapply for FLAS fellowships annually, even if they've been a previous awardee. And if you are enrolled in a BU study abroad program, you can still receive the FLAS fellowship as long as you meet the other requirements. Summer FLAS available to undergraduate and graduate students you can study domestically or overseas in an intensive language program. There are, as you can see, specific amounts of study. It says beginning or intermediate level programs, but that is, as I understand it, you could only do that beginner level if you had met the advanced level and were a graduate student. Otherwise, it needs to be intermediate and above. And you have the overall number of contact hours. Covers up to $5,000 in tuition and $3,500 living stipend. It's important to recognize the tuition is the actual cost. So if, for instance, you were to do a program that the tuition is only $3,500, then you would only receive, the award would only be for the $3,500 for the tuition. There can be travel awards of $1,000. And I believe everyone received a travel award of $1,000 this past summer, but I believe that you learn that each year and it's not necessarily fully guaranteed.
I'll again interrupt. A person could ask themselves, what does it mean to be intermediate? The simplest way, it's not like you're gonna be tested again in a particular way. At least if you've done first and second semester, third semester, which is a second year, is considered intermediate. So just some people will be applying as they are starting their second semester, so that the following semester they qualify. This time it's not a placement test dependent kind of thing.
So on here, and you can describe this process a little bit more. I put on here just some examples of where people have gone previously. So we've got, the Wolof in the Dakar Language Center, Eastern Language Center for people studying Igbo. This past summer, as I said, somebody had studied Ewe in University of Ghana. And so Ewe and Luganda, as you can see, those are two languages that we don't teach, but you're able to apply for a summer. You're able to apply for permission to learn a language over the summer through our agreement with the Department of Education. So, and then Arabic in Morocco as well. And then also, you know, Indiana University Summer Language Workshop has a number of different languages that you can learn in Bloomington. But it's not limited just to that. Do you want to describe the process for summer languages?
Yes. Actually, now it's no longer, I wouldn't say Indiana has so many. It
Okay.
used to when we had what we called Scully. Now it is Florida.
Okay.
University of Florida, what is called AFLI. I think it is the African flagship for what was that initiative? If I had my mark, that is their name because I've worked for them for over 7 years every summer for different portfolios, not just teaching. They have had up to about 7, 9 languages. This past year, I think they had 5 languages, different levels of those on demand. And they accommodate, plus majorly, they are funded by Boren, which is another source of money, that big money that students can get. And if you don't want to go to Africa, but you still want an expedited way of pushing the language, you can go there. I know, at least about Indiana, I know that they have Swahili, even though it's for high school students mostly. I don't know details of many languages right now, but it used to be like that for Scali. So besides, and all of what we have there is as is. We have also had actually students go to South Africa to do Xhosa at the University of Fort Hare. We even have a memorandum of understanding with that university, which is the university I used to teach at before I came here. And then there is also, we have sent some students to UCT, University of Cape Town. I would say it's South Africa's Harvard, so to speak, in terms of Ivy League and whatever. But we have ties with students who have sent there. We also have isiZulu, which besides what he just went to this summer, which is the GPA Group Project Abroad, that is hosted by UPenn. There is another one hosted by Howard University. And we also have, if a student wants to go at a time that is not locking into the GPA time, we have sent them, we have had liaison with the University of Witwatersrand, Witwatersrand, according to your English, but we say it in Afrikaans, but it's a good program as well. We have sent students to the University of KwaZulu-Natal in Peter Marisburg and had tailor-made programs for them. So we already do have standing things there. In Senegal, besides the program that we have worked with, that is meant by one of our professors here, Lamine Diallo, and other in-country people. There is another one that Boren sends people to. The last I knew it's meant by Mamram Sek, who has written even the book that they are using to learn Wolof. The stronger thing about the one that has connections with us here through Lamin is that they do also Ajami. Ajami being, I saw you are you in Igbo?
Yes.
Yes. I nearly displaced you and made you Wolof. So they also have that. The other program does not have Ajami. So it would be up to the person. I think that's all, not unless you have a question. And note this, since this FLAS program is very, very competitive, but all these details are good, but they don't guarantee you getting it. You have to have your staff really strong. I won't go too much ahead because Minister is still going to say some things about that. But note that we don't, the committee doesn't usually jump for people who are going to other Arabic-speaking countries that are not African. So Africa gets the first preference in there.
Can I ask a question about the summer programs? Does someone should someone have identified a program they want to do, and how is the program signed off on? Let's say someone wants to study, I don't know, Amharic, and they find a program, what's the process once they've found a summer program?
Thank you so much for that question. We would usually, they would need to liaise with me. That place that they say they are taking, I liaise with that instructor on the content and syllabus stuff, including you. But when I say you, that's not excluding Melissa, we are one team in this. So we are in touch with that person. They draft their syllabus, we suggest the syllabus we have, and if they draft theirs, we try to make sure that it fits what we do. So, except for those that are long-standing, like our Igbo program, that too started with that, we worked with that person, now they have the syllabus we need. So is the case with all of them. It started with us working with them, now they have it. So if we start a new person, we will have to liaise. If we couldn't find a program with you and you found one and suggested it, you connect us to that person.
Excellent. So the application process. So we have, the application is not open yet. We're updating it from the previous year to make sure it has everything that it needs in it. But it should be going live, I would say probably early December. And then, so the application will be on the FLAS website. You'll need a current unofficial transcript, a personal statement, 2 letters of recommendation and sent to this email. And one needs to be written by someone who can speak to your language abilities. And the deadline is February 7th, 2025. And I was advised that to have the deadline then was a good time to have the deadline because there is a lot of, first off, the committee needs to go through the review process, the selection process, and then once the selection has been made, it's a very fast turnaround to get all of the funding out for the summer fellowships and to ensure all of the approvals with the Department of Education, which are extensive because we're sending people, especially for the summertime, abroad, and there are regulations that people can't travel until they've been approved in advance, and certain safety protocols in place as well. Yeah, go ahead.
For the letters of recommendation, who do you recommend the non-language skill one be from?
I would
I missed
ask
that
you.
question.
For the second letter of recommendation for someone who's not speaking to my language speaking skills, who would you recommend it be from?
We usually receive from whoever has taught you and can say something that is strong enough to put you in good space, but definitely the other one must be a language.
Okay, like could it be like a former employer?
Yes.
Okay. And then, sorry, for the language speaking one, how recent should it be?
Say that again.
How language should they have taught? How recent should they have taught me in a certain language?
I don't think we've ever worried about when, as long as they can tell us exactly what they know about you and your language proficiency. All that stuff.
And should it be in the language I'm learning?
Yes.
Okay.
I think one thing that's important to think about when you're thinking about who would write the letter of recommendation is if much of this is why would you, the personal statement, you can correct me, but I think the personal statement is focused on why do you want to learn this language and do the area studies, and how is it going to serve you in the future? How are you going to use that in the future? So this funding really exists in order to ensure that people are developing skills in and understanding of a different region of the world, right? And so the question really would be, if I were thinking who I would have write a recommendation, I would have someone write a recommendation who could speak to the reasons that support what I say I want to do in the future and how I'm going to use it. So someone who can support, either my area of interest, or I want to pursue a certain type of career or type of study, and someone who can say, yes, she has shown working with me that she has XYZ skills. So that would be what I would suggest. Oh, well, here we are. Okay, so this is what, look at, this is really, the purpose, right? Why are you studying this? And I apologize for this. I can't get it to go away. This connected to the UVPN. It's stuck there in the middle of my screen. But what is your experience with the target language? What plans? And then how are you viewing this to serve your academic and career aspirations? So this is, I mean, of course, who knows where everyone's going to be in 5 years, 10 years, 15, 20 years. But if you're envisioning, why would you want to focus on this now and lay that out?
And also sort of the making us know where have you been with this language. You know, I mean, I like the projection of the future, but sometimes also telling us about your past, the language of the culture, the whatever. Different things. I remember some students would say, I have been to this country for a different reason, but having been there, this is what I saw, and I decided I need to learn the language, go deeper into this or that. You know what I mean? Sometimes you didn't learn it before now, but you have reasons. The bottom line is make us see why should we choose you and not him. So make it strong.
Or both. And then, right, this is just talking specifically, I won't go into detail here, but, we did say about the summer intensive, if you have a program in mind, and I think if you don't have a program in mind for anyone who's, watching online or is looking at this later, I would research and see what you can find for a program and talk with your language instructor now. And then here are further details if you are looking to do dissertation research abroad, has more details here. So program expectations for accepted applicants. We have a couple of current FLAS members here in the room, but one thing, I'm not sure if this has been done before, but it was suggested in the past few months that it would be helpful once everybody's been accepted to have just one quick sort of relatively brief but informational meeting where we go over what's expected, when you're going to hear the various information, when you should expect to receive the stipend and the tuition payments, which I recognize this year was a little delayed because of the transfer to the new system, which was delayed and unfortunate. So, but to have an information session, also sort of a Q&A so people can ask questions. Completion of pre and post language evaluation. So all of the FLAS fellows, when somebody is awarded the fellowship within the system, our reporting system, there is somebody who is assigned who does the pre and post language evaluation for each fellow. Often it's actually your instructor. So the people who are your instructors are often the ones who have been completing that. This third point is the one that you have seen where we've reached out. What courses are you taking? Let's make sure that they meet the criteria. As you know, there's 25% of the material needs to be related to Africa, which that can sometimes be if the full course, if a heavy research paper is focused entirely on Africa and is applying that content. Some things it's really clear if you've got Africa in the title, that usually will definitely meet the criteria. We also there's a brief post-fellowship survey that the Department of Education will send out that should be completed. And then for 8 years after the completion of the fellowship, the Department of Education sends out, I believe, but I think it comes from them, sends out every 2 years a survey that's really looking at, tracking how and when FLAS alumni are using their languages. And so I was the other day on a webinar where they were going through the results of the surveys, where they were showing here is how the alums have been using their language and whether they're using it in work or not, whether they're in, in an academic setting or not, and what that looks like.
To chip in a little bit on point number 2, whilst there is one element of evaluation is that the instructor does pre and post. There is another one that the student needs to do as well. So sometimes we do everything and we can be held back by your evaluation. So it needs to be in there for our report to be complete to be sent.
Yes. Yes, and actually it's super important that that is done because we can't actually submit our report to the Department of Education if people have not, I believe,
Yes.
they have to have completed it, the student. Oh. I don't even
How
know.
many people do we have online? Christina, if you can see,
Well, I think we have just one.
do you see the
Online.
name?
Achievable.
Yep, I can see. Hmm?
Catch you.
Oh,
We have two at some point. Yes. And then I think that might be the end. So at this point, I would ask, are there any questions? We have covered a lot of territory.
I have one. So
Yes.
my next semester, I'm planning to make it, or the next fall, I plan to make my last semester. I want to graduate a little early. Is there a possibility of applying for a FLAS scholarship for just half of the year, for half as much money?
You know, that is a great question. Let me follow up because I know the FLAS fellowships are for a full year generally, but I was just going through the details and I want to say they had a potential exception for someone who's graduating halfway through, but let me look into it and get back to you because they have, you know, here's the typical and then here's all these exceptions. So let me check on that.
quick question. Would that be a summer? Oh, well, you wouldn't have a summer opportunity if you're graduating, right? So what are you thinking of doing, summer or full? Half of whatever it is.
Just half of the academic year, I'm trying to get the FLAS for.
Okay.
I know I'm trying to do Fulbright over this next summer.
You're doubling this in the Fulbright.
Yeah.
The same Fulbright you took last year?
No, I'm going to Kenya.
Ah, he's doing two African languages. This one wants to be seriously African. And he's pretty much fluent in both Zulu and Swahili.
And I'm not sure. I don't think I've gotten a response to this. I'll be taking next semester sociolinguistics with Dr. Ngom. Do you believe that class is likely to cover the 25% African content?
Is that the one you had emailed about it? Yeah, I have to go through.
Okay, because if not, I should also be taking contemporary African politics, which will cover it. But
Yeah, I mean, are you going to be taking that?
there's a wait list for it is the problem right now. So I just want to be
Okay.
certain now if I
Right,
can.
right. Got it.
I would
Yeah.
suspect Professor Ngom usually teaches
Yeah.
African area studies stuff. He's in anthropology and usually that's what he does.
Yeah.
If I'm interested in the summer class, do I still need to take an African related class that is not English?
No, that's a great question, and I should have clarified that. So, so the area studies requirement is just for the academic year. So thank you for asking.
What language would be interested
We
in?
have cruised through but we recorded it, and we have all the slides.
And then like for next step, if I'm interested in the summer class, it would be like me going online and like kind of making a list, I guess, of scholarships that I find or of programs I'm finding, and then coordinating each class. Is that how this works?
So, what language are you studying? I mean, I would think I would talk to your instructor about what programs would be suggested to take, right? I would think. I mean, the application for the summer and the academic year are the same. It's ideal if you come with a program that you are suggesting you'd attend, but I talk to your instructor and then also you can look online.
Also, I can suggest, did you say summer?
Yeah.
If you want to do it here, always actually in the University of Florida does it. If you want to go outside of the country, at least I know some. There is one that is in Arusha in Tanzania. There is one that is not one, three that are in Kenya, Arusha. One hosted by Yale University, one hosted by Princeton, yes,
Is it by Howard, I believe.
by Howard too. See, so there's more. One by MSU, Michigan State University. So there's just a ton for Swahili.
Yep.
And if somebody is applying for the FLAS in the academic year, could they also do summer? Does that affect anything? I'm just curious if that being able to go abroad while also continuing your studies here.
You mean do one? Yeah, there are
Mhm,
people who
Yeah.
do it multiple times.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay.
And it's advisable to apply for both. I
Okay.
mean, not unless you are sure you don't want the other one. Why? Because this is very, very competitive. There, like I think I mentioned, there's not, we can't guarantee that you'll get this one. Sometimes we've gotten so many in summer, there is some money that's still there for the academic year. We can't take you here. But if you didn't apply, then there's nothing we can do. And yet, if you did apply, then we can say he or she's not getting into this one. Let's put them in this one. Sometimes people can get both.
Would those be two separate applications, or would I write the personal statement and state that I'm applying for both of them?
I think yes, because yes, it's the same application. There is a check thing there that says summer academic. So if you choose one, we concentrate on that. If you choose two, then you are putting yourself in a space where we can put you in whichever becomes available.
I would say if you choose both, do still put what summer program, embedded within the personal statement you would be interested in. So it could be considered.
I saw there were, for the people who did study abroad, to study like Luganda and Eve, what did the process look like for them getting there up to proficiency levels? Because you need a proficiency level to study abroad over the summer for a language that we don't teach. Did they just reach it on their own?
So the proficiency so my understanding is, at least for some of them, they were beginning language.
Mhm.
And so they showed, because they were graduate students, and they showed advanced proficiency in a different language. So if you are a graduate student, you can study at a beginner level if you have advanced in a different language that's a language from the continent.
You are actually both of them were beginner level.
Yep.
And
Okay.
beginner level starts at 0 anyway. So 8 weeks of that, because it has to be 8 weeks for that one. The assumption or the hope and belief is that by the time you are at intermediate level.
The summer programs are intended to cover an entire academic year's worth of language
Very
learning.
intensive.
Yeah.
But fun, don't run away. I've taught some of them, and I've class visited many that I don't teach. And I know it's intense, but it is fun. Maybe he can attest to that. He has done one out there.
Yeah. 6 hour days of study. It was hard.
Yeah.
But it was
fun.
It was hard, but fun.
All right. Any other questions?